Hi everyone. Women haven't always been taken seriously or seen as threats when it does come to the crimes that they commit. Although women in the juvenile and women's correctional systems, they do represent a smaller number compared to men, they are still significant aspects to the system as a whole. The tolerance for female delinquency has decreased, which has caused increased amounts of formal processing. Gender equality in the correctional system has struggled when it comes to women, mainly because the chivalrous treatment gives women and girls less strict punishment due to their gender, while the evil woman hypothesis uh, penalizes women due to their gender for acting against tradition, and they typically do receive harsher punishments. The issues with this is the bias processing or the harsher punishments that females receive within the correctional system. The increase of female caseloads have also caused issues with formal processing. The high amounts of these caseloads bring attention to the females, but the programs struggle to focus on gender specific needs. Women do have higher rates of abuse, which is one of the programs that should be gender specific to the females that are in the correctional system, regardless if they are women or girls. Um, one of the things that the correctional system does struggle with for all individuals is having individualized programs because every situation is so different. Oftentimes, the correctional system does not have the resources to give each individualized care to try to rehabilitate these individuals and to try to help them through their delinquent behavior that they did commit. A lot of correctional programs are also based from the male perspective, so sometimes that does lack a lot of the gender specific needs that females do require. Things like abuse, possibly when they do have maternity things as well. Although of course, men do have children as well when it comes to being in the correctional system. Typically, it is more of a gender specific thing for women because they do go through pregnancy, and sometimes that is a certain type of program that they have to go through that doesn't always, it's not exactly a formal programming that they'll be able to do um, in all kinds of correctional facilities. And sometimes it's not there for the younger individuals as well. Like girls would have to be a part of specific programs, especially for rehabilitation, uh, and that does make it a little bit more challenging because they are more male centered. These types of gender specific programs are beneficial and they are necessary to aid in rehabilitation, which is the ultimate goal for all of the correctional facilities. Um, and especially for juvenile cases, that these certain programs would be able to help these women and young girls go through this process that is more specific to them, that could help them in rehabilitation and to eventually, be a productive member of society instead of a delinquent. In other countries, they do also struggle with um, the gender equality within the correctional system and informal processing of delinquent individuals. Um, for countries like China and Taiwan and South Korea, they do tend to focus more on the chivalrous type um, of behavior towards women and girls. They do think that women, that they are considered to be people who need to be protected. So they do typically get lesser punishments. And if they show feelings like remorse, they typically will give them lesser sentencing just because that's how they view women in their society. So it is a little bit different compared to the United States, how we are trying to make it more equal for everyone on a crime basis just because of the crimes that they commit rather than their gender. However, in countries like Australia, they do focus on women's cases a little bit differently. Like, for example, they treat Indigenous cases to be that they could have possibly gone through a trauma, which is the reason that they could have gone through delinquent behavior, and they see that as more of something to help rather than to punish. However, in Finland, they share a very similar belief to us in the United States that gender equality should be a main focal point to any delinquent behavior or to crimes in general. The treatment of women and girls in the correctional system should aim for equality, but also individualized care and programs that would be able to aid in rehabilitation so we can try to make this society a way to respond to crime and not necessarily as a harsh punishment way, but to treat it as something that needs help and that they just can be rehabilitated um, to more individualized programs that would be more specific to all gender needs and personal needs throughout the system.